What did Hemingway like to drink? That's the title of our episode today.
Yes, hello. Continue,
Hello.
please go on. Because the
Well,
first thing you said, that's the title. I thought of the quote Ernest Hemingway said that he drinks to make other people more interesting, and I like that.
I like that. Sometimes when I go drinking with different people, they don't pay any attention to what I'm saying. For example, my name is Patricia, but once I was in a Russian bar in Manhattan, and it was underground, and this woman waved to me, and they were drinking infused vodkas and eating beet soup. And she said, "What is your name?" And I said, "Patricia." And she goes, "Natasha, Natasha." So I was Natasha. Then sometimes I tell people, they say, "What is your name?" I said, "My name is Pat." They go, "Oh, Cat, Cat. That's a good name for you, Cat." So, when people drink, sometimes their reality is a little bit altered. But these alterations may have some truth to them. I sometimes feel like Natasha. I sometimes feel like a cat. What about you?
Well, I don't know what I feel sometimes like. Sometimes I feel like not myself. Uh, yes, like now. I don't know what I am anymore.
Well, I just poured some bourbon in coffee, and I feel a little more relaxed. So, as a Patroma therapist, we don't recommend heavy drinking, but just what I call recreational drinking.
It's also interesting because if you can't hang around, cannot hang around with your friends sober, they're not your friends, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're your drinking buds.
That's true. And also, there's a concept, it's called day drinking. So, generally, I guess a lot of people sort of thought you work during the day, and around 5 or 6 or 7, you get off and you go to happy hour, have a few drinks, and then you go home where your wife or kids or husband or your dogs or your chores are. So there's this brief intermission between loathsome work and loathsome home life. It's called happy hour. So, as per our title of the episode, what did Hemingway drink? We had a previous episode about Hemingway's home and museum, and he lived down in the Florida Keys in a place called Key West. And one of the things he liked to drink was martinis. So on our cover shot, you will see a martini glass that is a martini I had about 4 or 5 days ago at Lakewood Landing. It's a bar here in Dallas, and it's a martini bar. Everybody drinks martinis there. What do you think about martinis?
I think it's a woman's drink. I don't drink martinis. I I love Bloody Mary. It sounds feminine, but it's not.
Actually, I don't like martinis either, but I like olives. And I like olives on a Bloody Mary, and I like celery, and sometimes they put a piece of bacon or a tomato. They have this one bar called Henderson Tap House where they have, it's called Bloody Mary Bar. On Sundays, you go to this big table area and you pay for your drink. So maybe just the standard Bloody Mary would be like $6, but you can get a loaded Bloody Mary, which means it's going to have a stick. And on that stick is going to be like bacon and meatballs and cheese and tomato and it's all really good because you just like kind of nibble on the stick or you put it on your plate. And I like Bloody Marys. It's considered to be the hangover drink.
I'm thinking of, because me and Hemingway actually have lots in common. Because I had a time when I was troubled and needed help just like he did. And I should have drunk less to stop driving people away from me just the way he did. I love the man. I love the man. He was drunkard, but he was also a genius. Um,
No, he was a
yeah.
creative person. He was also a womanizer. He went through woman after woman after woman, sometimes one woman while still with the other. Could you believe that a man could do that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's yeah, I can't believe that. I mean, the experience I had with women, but it's a what's that expression? Two-way sword, two two
Street,
edges.
two-way street.
Yeah,
You mean women do the same thing with men?
absolutely. It can either destroy you or make you the better man. So,
Well, my father liked Bloody Marys, and he was in the military. And after he got out of the military, he divorced my mother and married a woman who had a beautiful piece of land and a lot of money. And they built a lake house. And he had this fabulous bar at the lake house. So whenever we would go visit him, I guess I was in college back in those days. We would, yeah, I was in college. No, I was in graduate school. I don't know what I was, but anyhow, we'd go over there, and he was always behind the bar and just wanting to know what do we want to drink. And he loved to wear Hawaiian shirts. He kept birds in cages, like beautiful birds. He had a parrot, and he liked to make Bloody Marys. Sometimes he liked to make sangria and eat outside on the patio. And I don't know. I believe that he always loved my mother, but this other woman had more money, so he pretended to love her. I don't know. Maybe he did love her, but you know, love in the time of cholera. That's a series of stories by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote 100 Years of Solitude. He also liked to drink. But back to our cover shot of the martini. The martini glass looks really great when a woman is holding it. And when she's sitting on a bar stool crossing her legs, guys think that's pretty sexy. Have you ever seen a lady at a bar with her legs crossed? So I went several weeks ago with my daughter. She goes, "Oh, I want to go explore this bar," because she has moved to Dallas. And she knows and we both like art and we like to explore around. And she likes neon signs. She goes, "There's this place that has this fabulous neon sign that lights up at night, and it's called Mike's Gemini Twin." Mike's Gemini Twin. So she comes and picks me up, and we go over there. And before we get out of the car, it's in a new area where it's kind of sketchy over there. It's a new area that they're developing, so it's not very, very safe. And I suggest we drive around a few blocks just to be sure we're not going to get killed because we're just two women getting out of a car at night. But I go, "What do you think we should drink? Should we just get a beer?" She goes, "Let's drink a cocktail." I go, "Okay." She goes, what do you want?" I go, "Maybe I'll get a martini." So we go in. It's really a fabulous bar. It looks like Manhattan or Paris or something. Like, it doesn't look like Dallas. It's very, very, it's got lots of mirrors and a cool pool table and a fabulous bar and really interesting people sitting around, kind of dark lighting. So the bartender asks us what we want. And I said, "Well, I'll have a martini, a dirty martini." And then she wants a gimlet. Well, I don't even know what a gimlet is. So the gimlet comes, it's this little short glass that's kind of etched and it's kind of real sweet. And I had this martini, it's super strong. And then the reason I got the martini is so I would look good. And I just wanted to eat the olives. It's so strong. They poured it so strong. She decides, "Could I taste your martini?" So she takes my martini and then she when she offers her gimlet to me. And now I'm stuck with this little short drink that I don't even like.
so
Well,
what What was it? Also, while sitting here and thinking about martinis, I didn't mean to have any negative connotation when I said I don't like it, because it's a great drink. And I know that Ernest Hemingway liked his martinis dry and his mojitos sweet. And he was, I think, later in his life, he rumored to be drinking lots of whiskey a day, bottle of whiskey a day, maybe.
Well, mojitos are great. They're with rum. There's a mojito bar that I've been to here in Dallas with my friend Jeff. It's a Cuban bar. Mojitos. It's muddled rum. It's muddled mint. You mash the mint, you mash the orange, and then you pour in rum. I just looked up the recipe for a gimlet, and I'm going to tell you what's in a gimlet. Two and a half ounces of gin, lime juice, and simple syrup, and you garnish it with a lime wheel. I don't even drink gin. So now I'm stuck with a dang gin drink. But they were very
you don't drink while writing. Sorry. I apologize. You're a writer, right? And do you indulge while writing? I mean, do you refrain from indulging yourself while writing, or do you drink it?
Well, I'm recording an episode of Patroma Therapy. This is a professional counseling service of dubious repute, and I am having some whiskey and coffee. So I like to drink to kind of unwind and relax. And everybody drinks and drives in Dallas. It's just a matter of how much and how far you're going. So if you're really messed up, you get an Uber and it takes you to the next place. It takes you to the next place. But at that Mike's Gemini Twin, we each had only had one drink. And then we were going to go to this other place where this guy, Holland Smith, was playing. He's a rock and roll guy. But first I said, let's go to the Balcony Club, because I know this guy at the Balcony Club. His name is Young Cadis, and he is a poet and a bartender. And there's no cover charge on Tuesday nights. So we decided we're going to stop by the Balcony Club to see Young Cadis. So we go up the stairs of the Balcony Club, which is an old theater that's been renovated. It's this really cool bar. And who was playing? I don't know. They had a really great band there. And then on the way up there, we run into somebody who I know. And then we go in, and then other people came in, and it was half price tequila night. So, Dallas has a lot of specials. Like it's like half price tequila night, or it's mojito night, or it's, whiskey river night. So people have to drive there and they have to drive home. So actually in Dallas, people are drinking and driving.
Okay. But that's not that we do not support that in our channel. And hey, do you remember?
To crawl home? They want them to crawl home. Well, no. The thing is, you can only be at a certain limit. For example, if I've had one beer at a bar, what's illegal is open container. You can't have like a bottle of whiskey in your truck and just drinking from your bottle of whiskey. You can't have an open beer drinking from your beer can. But if you go to the liquor store and you buy a 6-pack of beer and it's not opened, it can be in your car. But for example, if I've had one beer at a bar and then I get in my car and then I drive someplace else that's not very far and I get out and go in, I'm not drinking and driving. I'm not drunk. If somebody asked me to take a breathalyzer test, I could pass it because my content of alcohol is not high. I've only had one beer.
I'm back to Bloody Mary. Can I tell you something?
Tell us more about that. Did we talk about Bloody Mary a couple episodes ago?
Yeah, we did talk about that. But then again, sitting here talking about you, new things come to mind. And we didn't mention that the first time. I think we discussed that a few months ago. Because they're talking about the origins of the Bloody Mary. That the Hemingway's wife was named Mary, right? And I think I read it somewhere that doctor had forbidden Hemingway from having any more vodka. And Mary, his wife, actually was and supervising him to it, holding him to it. So when he was served that vodka and tomato juice drink, he was, Mary said, no way, he can't have it. And he was angry at his bloody wife, and he christened the cocktail after her. That's why it's called Bloody Mary. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense in your world. Hemingway had 5 wives. One was Mary Welsh Hemingway. Another one was Martha Gellhorn. Another one was Pauline Pfeiffer. He had about 5 wives.
I did not know that.
And also,
I wish I could have 5 wives. Did he have it at the same time or
No. Listen. So the first wife was Mary Welsh Hemingway. She was married to her from 1946 to 1961. No, that's when she died. I don't know. That was the first wife. So the second wife, he married Martha Gellhorn first. He married Martha in 1940. Anyhow, no, that's wrong. Wait a minute. He married Martha, Martha's father was a gynecologist, and then Mary worked for one of his wives during the Second World War. She was employed, and then he decided to get with her. So he kind of went through quite a few women. And
he liked his drinks icy cold.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject, but yeah.
Well, his first wife, I'm looking at a picture of it here. Her name is Hadley Richardson. And then the next one, there's a whole bunch of wives, but he was living in Europe for quite a while. And then he was in Cuba for a while. Then he was in Key West. And another drink that he liked to drink was called absinthe, Absinthe. And that is like Degas and Toulouse-Lautrec, the painters, they were fond of drinking that in the bars and in the dance halls and the houses of prostitution. And actually, there's a bar here in Dallas that somebody told me I should go to. I really like it, but I haven't been. It's just called Absinthe. It's green. It's green. It's scary.
I've never tried one.
Absinthe is a anise flavored spirit derived from several plants. It includes fennel. It's a super high alcoholic content, and it's dark green. And some people call it La Fée Verte. Like Tina Fey, her last name means fairy, like little Sprite, like Fey means fairy or Sprite. This one type of absinthe drink is called La Fée Verte, which means the green fairy. Wow.
Do you know what vermouth? Do you know what vermouth is?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Do you love it?
Vermouth.
Vermouth. Like Cinzano. It sounds Italian.
Oh, it's a wine. Oh, yeah, I like it. Yeah, vermouth is good. Yeah, the brand I like is Martin and Rossi. Martini and Rossi Dry Vermouth. Here, it only costs $4.99 a bottle. That's pretty cheap. Isn't it mixed with other stuff?
I don't know. I think it's a blend of something sweet and dry. I don't know.
This one's a little bit more expensive. It's called Dolan Vermouth de Chambéry Dry. And this is some kind of French, I don't know. Hemingway lived in France, and so did Gertrude Stein, and so did Dos Passos and Fitzgerald, all these American expatriates. So they spent quite a bit of time, drinking and going to bars and clubs, but they were also writers. They were writing, they were sleeping with each other's wives. It was a very creative time. And this group of people was referred to as the lost generation, that they had somehow lost their moral compass. And, women were starting to cut their hair short and wear shorter dresses and smoke cigarettes. And you've heard of the flappers, Flappers, the flappers. They would dance the Charleston. So these were kind of very wild modern women with short hair. And I think we talked about the short story, The Lady and the Cat.
Yeah, Lady, no, you mean the Ernest Hemingway story, Cat in the Rain.
Oh, the other one is Lady with the Dog. That's Chekhov.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What is the lost generation? Can you tell me about it? Because I don't know what the difference is between.
Okay, well,
groups.
we have these expressions. For example, like we talk about baby boomers, and we talk about millennials, and we talk about Gen X. In modern times, we tend to categorize different groups of people, and we say what they're like. So around the time of the 1920s, there were American soldiers at war in Europe. So Hemingway was an ambulance driver, and he was a handsome young man driving an ambulance. And sometimes when people are at work and they're away in a foreign country, they might be drinking. So some of these people who had left the United States, Zelda was the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald. He wrote The Great Gatsby and many other stories. John Dos Passos. All these people were living in Europe, and they were living a life of abandonment to passion. So they would get together at each other's houses and drink, or they would get together and talk about paintings, or they would all go to a restaurant together and get a table for 20 people. So compared to the generation before them, which was like work hard, save your money, eat your potatoes and meat, come home after work and just be a good slave to your family. The lost generation was a group of writers, painters, musicians. I don't really think they were lost. I think they were really just exploring, but at the time, people didn't know what to call them because they had never seen women with short hair, women smoking cigarettes in public, and women with short dresses, and women not wearing a corset. A corset has these whale bones in it that like make your waist smaller. So the idea of an hourglass figure went out of style for women in fashion, and just a loose shift that shimmered when you danced was considered à la mode or in fashion.
So the lost means the difference between generations, because some people at say 60s, they put loyalty to work and employment and job, and now something happens and this fundamentally changes for the next generation, and their attitudes towards works and jobs changed, right?
Yes,
so
and also
that's why they're called lost.
Well, also Margaret Sanger was in favor of birth control, that a woman should have the right to control her body, and birth control started to be available. So that meant that women could have sex just like men without any specific consequence. So the idea of the lost generation, they came of age, which means they moved from being teenagers to being young men and women. during World War One, and they established themselves in the 1920s. So, I think 1924, Margaret Sanger was, the right to vote was coming up for women, the right to smoke cigarettes, the right to birth control. So now women were starting to be more free. And some people said, well, these are bad women. These women are smoking. We should have prohibition. Women shouldn't be able to smoke. Women shouldn't be able to drink. What do you think? Should women be able to drink?
Apologies. Did you ask me if I think that women should be allowed to drink? Of course I do.
No.
I'm all for the
go ahead.
equality. And I
See,
tell you what, that lots of people, many women are way smarter than men. Must admit that. And when someone thinks that women shouldn't be allowed that and this, and I think that's racist, sexist, I don't know, whatever. Use any term you want to express my attitude to it.
I thought you were going to say express my condolences for the death of the traditional woman. No. No. I mean,
but then again, you have to keep in mind that women are less. I mean, men can drink all their life, like Hemmingway, still stay more or less normal. Women, that's a one-way ticket for women. If there is no, if it's not responsible. I mean.
well. The truth comes out finally.
Yeah, but
No.
that's not truth.
Well,
that's life.
well, one of our subscribers, Michael, has recently posted on his channel his visit to Hollywood, where he and his wife have explored the Walk of Stars. So he's seen in Hollywood the stars of famous film artists and famous musicians, and I think that we admire writers and creators, and we admire creative people. We admire their writing, and we admire their art, and we admire their paintings. But then when we find out about their personal life, for example, Pablo Picasso or Jean Cocteau, or we find out something about Chekhov, or we find out something about Eric Clapton, or we find out something about Santana. Sometimes we hold artists and musicians to a higher standard when they're just really people too. The same thing with Janis Joplin. She came out of Port Arthur, Texas, and she was a blues singer. She sang Ball and Chain. She sang Take a Little Piece of My Heart. She was a very gutsy blues singer. And by many standards, people would say she was not very ladylike. Sometimes she would sing on stage barefoot or wearing blue jeans, or her hair looking like a lion, like wild like a lion. So I know there's different standards of beauty for men and for women that has changed over the years. But you're right that we, as a society, we tend to think men who can drink, a man in a uniform, a man who's out on the town is something to be admired. Whereas if it's a woman who's drinking out on the town, we would tend to think that she is perhaps, not a very good woman. She might be promiscuous. She might not. There's like a double standard.
It's all subjective. What I admire in people, because I think that the real measure of a person is how you behave or whatever you do when nobody's looking. Remember, dance like there's no one looking, and when nobody's looking, what are you trying to do? Trying to make the world better for other people, or are you trying to make it worse? And
no, I like that a lot, because I read something or saw something, like, I know we have memes now, little memes that are all over online, but I remember I saw a framed quotation that was in a doctor's office or somewhere when I was in it. yeah, it was something that said like, you know, you are who you are when no one is looking. What are you doing?
Right. I don't know who
It was
said
kind of
that,
spooky. It was
but
kind
I
of
agree.
spooky
No, it's not
because,
spooky at all. I mean,
no,
but
it
no
was
one's looking.
yeah, self-confrontational. It kind of asks you to look at yourself, you know? I think it's very hard for people to be faithful these days because there's so many temptations online, all kinds of meetup groups and all kinds of people in different places offering different things. And, you know, a lot of married men, a lot of married women or boyfriends and girlfriends, they have other relationships, but does that mean they're being unfaithful? Like, you know, Hemingway would divorce a woman, then get with another one, then divorce her and get with another one. And he at least had to fill out some papers and, you know, give her some money and send her on her way. But I don't know, you know,
It's you
the
said
thing,
that you said that if one Hemingway is a great writer, and we admire him for his creation. But then again, he had his personal life, he had his drinking habits and stuff. And I thought, okay, I'm greatly admire Ernest Hemingway, and his personal life I find detestable, for instance, but doesn't make his works less great, right? Because he's still a great
right.
writer. Or, and again, when I read his books, I only I admire a person for the book he wrote. I don't know Ernest Hemingway at all. All that I see is his ability to create fiction, and I
Oh,
love
he's
it.
great at
Right?
another thing about Hemingway that's very, very famous in terms of short story technique. Uh, I think it's called tip of the iceberg. If you think of an iceberg floating in the water, just the tip of it shows. He was very fond of using short sentences, very precise description to suggest what was below the surface. So, for example, the story, The Cat in the Rain, this American couple is in Italy, and the woman has short hair. She's looking out at this cat. She wants to go rescue the cat. Her husband's reading in bed, and she can't find the cat. And then, you know, he tells her, just get a book. And she's talking about, well, she doesn't like her haircut. And it's a very short story. We just see the tip of the iceberg, but
No, I think
underneath, yeah,
the better representation of it would be hills like white elephants. Remember, we read that too. When
yes,
the abortion is in subtext, but they never mention it.
yes. And they're just sitting at a little cafe waiting for a train
Mm-hmm.
to come, and they're having a drink. And, you know, it's interesting how he works drinking in because it was just natural. Like people drink and they socialize. They meet at parties, they meet in clubs, they meet in bars. And he also said that the way to learn to write is to write. You have to be disciplined. You have to sit down every day and get that many words out. You know, you have to be very disciplined with your writing. So
There's
yeah,
this common phrase, tip of the iceberg. I sometimes misunderstand it. The idea is that something like small portion of the subject is visible and the rest of it is hidden, right?
yes. Like if I tell you, oh, I'm going, yeah, if I tell you I had a dream, and in this dream there was a man waiting at a train station, and you say, oh, what was that dream about? I go, I don't know. I just remember this picture of a man waiting at a train station. But since you're a therapist, you know that we have our conscious mind and our unconscious mind. So deep below the surface, what were some of the feelings I was having during this dream? It's like, oh, I was feeling anxious. I was waiting for someone to come meet me. And you'd say, well, is there someone you're waiting to come meet me? And as a therapist, you would slowly unravel what the dream's about because only a tip of the dream is visible.
And that brings me to C.J. Jung, I think. He's a representation of conscious and subconscious mind. It's painted, it's pictured in the form of the iceberg, where conscious is the tip of it, the subconscious, everything hidden underwater.
Yes, because, for example, let's say, is it Friday? Is it Saturday night? It's Saturday night. So let's say, oh, I'm going to go to this dance club because there's this big football party and there's these other parties. And like, I might ask myself, why am I going? Is it because I'm alone and I need to be with other people? Is it because I'm hoping to meet someone? Is it because I want to drink? Like, we do things, but maybe there's some unconscious purpose. Like, you go from your city life out into the country where you have a summer house and a garden and a wood that you chop and potatoes that you grow. Like, why do you go to your summer house?
Well, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what I do things. I do them before I estimate the consequences, or
yeah, that would be called you're unconsciously driven. Unconsciously driven.
Also, I call it that reptilian mind. I don't know what's the word. Monkey mind.
No, the reptilian mind is you're driven by your instincts. It's like the base instincts, like eating and sex and just
that's a bit different because C.J. Jung, I think he viewed the iceberg as a representative of the visible and hidden parts of the human psyche.
Freud said we have our id, that's the impulsive part of ourself that grows first when we're a baby. Then there's the super ego. It's the rules of society that we learn from our parents and our teachers. The rules of society become introjected voices in our head. Like, don't eat a cookie, don't eat too much, you have to go to the bathroom over here, don't hit your brother. These rules of society come to us from parents and teachers. And then when we become an adolescent, our ego forms and we have to manage the demands of our id with the rules of the superego. So let's say you're a teenager and you have hormones flowing through you, and you see this amazing, cute girl in your history class, and at the physical level, you're very attracted to her. You want to run over there and hug her and kiss her, but you don't even know her, and she doesn't even know you, so you have to suppress the physical urges to go run over there and kiss this girl.
Well, welcome to my world. But by the way, while we're on it, anxiety check. Mine is 5 on scale of 1 to 10.
Your anxiety is high?
5.
5?
Yeah, on scale of 1 to 10. What is yours?
How is my volume? I'm kind of more concerned about my volume.
No, I think it's great. Sounds great.
Oh, my anxiety is pretty good. I put some bourbon in my coffee. I unlaced my shoes because they were too tight. And
can we say it's 6?
It's what?
6?
It's maybe 5.
5?
Yeah, it's going down. It's great. I feel actually pretty good.
Yeah. Good. Because the purpose of our conversation was to lower your anxiety level. Because when we started to talk to each other, it was about just above 9, I think.
Yeah, I was really mad. I was really, high though. I was really mad at you.
Well, I don't know why you were mad at me, because I thought you were really mad at somebody else.
Well, I'm mad at several people. I'm mad at you and several people. I'm mad. But my football team won. That's good. And
but again, you see, in 100,000 years, does that even matter? So you keep that in mind when you get mad at anybody, and your anxiety goes up, becomes astronomical. Is it worth it? Because you spent all your emotions and energy
No,
And
100,000
in
years I'll
100
be
years,
dead. I'm not going to be having any emotions or energy.
that,
Tonight
that,
I have emotions and energy.
that's not the point. The point is you don't have to spend your energy today like there is no tomorrow. That's my point.
Yes, I do. I have to record this episode because who knows when you're going to disappear again. No, I
Okay.
understand what you no, I understand what you mean. What I'm
No, no,
saying is
I
that
understand.
sometimes
I understand. Mhm.
time is of the essence. For example, um, another friend I had not seen in a long time, I was just at the grocery store, and he's a federal lawyer, works for the Environmental Protection Agency. Very, very smart guy. He has dyed his hair blue because he used to be able to work from home and you didn't have to like show up at work. And he was didn't shave and he was wearing a tie-dyed t-shirt and shorts. And he was with this other guy who's a bartender guy. And I had gone into this grocery store to buy some blueberry muffins because I was going to take the blueberry muffins, some of them home and some of them to my friends that work at this car shop. And I come out of the grocery store and all of a sudden I go, Tucker, is that you? So I hadn't seen Tucker in a long time. So instead of just going about my business, I needed to talk to Tucker. So sometimes stuff just happens and you just have to deal with it then. And I asked him what he was doing, and then his friend went into this hardware store and bought some pipes and things, and they had a whole bunch of beer. I don't know what they were going to do. And I took a picture of Tucker and I said, "Oh, can I post this on Instagram?" He said, "No, because I'm supposed to be sick and I've taken the day off from work. And if anybody looks at the Instagram and sees that I'm at the grocery store buying beer, that won't be good." So I did not post a picture of him carrying beer. But I did take time out from my busy schedule of driving muffins around the city. See, this friend that's mad at me, he resents the fact that I can ride around the city and buy muffins. And he can't. He has to go to work.
Maybe you could recommend your friend to have a therapy or schedule a therapy session with us in the near future. And we'll help each other. We'll be helping each other because we need help too. For instance, do you remember that a few minutes ago I paused, you asked me a question I didn't answer because this garbage truck, and it made me mad. A garbage truck came by and there was so much noise, so I put my microphone to mute. And then you asked me a question, and I was like really mad at this garbage truck that wouldn't let me answer you. And I thought, but he's not to be blamed because this guy, the garbage truck driver, he drives it for a living. And he came here not knowing that we were talking, recording. And I thought maybe his typical day was like 12 hours. And I don't know how long he's been doing this job. And I was going to come out and ask him what's the best part of the job of driving the garbage truck. But
You can't do stuff
then I
like
was
that.
like torn between answering you and interviewing this garbage truck driver. And now your friend who's mad at you or you're mad at him, we need help, all of us. We need help. We need to help each other because in 100,000 years, this wouldn't even matter. See my point? And I'm sober. I assure you, I'm absolutely sober.
No, I hear your point. I do hear your point. And we only have 24 hours in a day. I can't get like 27 or 28. And if I have like 24 hours worth of stuff to do, I can't pack in like 29 hours from three people that need an hour.
Yeah. And the bottom line is that just garbage truck doing its work, right? Not that I'm fixing this garbage truck, but maybe the truck was great. It's huge and beautiful and all shiny, but still it made lots of noise and kind of interfered
Well, it's interesting
with me
because,
talking.
little boys traditionally get, trucks and wagons and bikes and stuff like that when they're kids growing up. And girls traditionally have gotten baby dolls and little kitchen stuff. And, you know, we kind of train our young children, to like certain sorts of things. And it was interesting. I was not consciously thinking about what to buy my daughters as they were growing up, but somehow I just started buying these various stuffed animals, like an alligator and a camel and a little hippo and a. So when they were growing up, they had this collection of all these animals, the stuffed animals. Then one of my daughters was telling me that her friend was going to have a baby, and they're grown up now. And I go, "Oh, is it to be a boy or girl?" And she said, "It's supposed to be a little boy." And then I realized I had this little small dump truck. It was a child, like a garbage truck about that size that would fit in your hand. And I thought, "Oh, well, why don't you take this? You can give it to them." And and then she said, "Well, they're trying not to give the boy very sexist toys." I go, "Oh, I didn't know a little truck was something bad." But, I mean, it just depends. Like you said, you were annoyed, but then it flipped into like maybe he's just having his day. Or like I was going to give this
Yeah,
truck my intention was good, but then suddenly it became something I shouldn't do because they don't want the boy to have, a little truck.
yeah.
The world is
Also, the traditional roles you mentioned, because I thought, what would be the pros and cons of a traditional man versus a modern man, or versus modern boy, or a traditional girl versus modern girl? And I thought that maybe it's more about us versus I, because um, um, how do I say that? The liberal woman, or not the liberal woman, progressive, right? Versus traditional.
just say non-traditional.
Yeah, non-traditional, traditional versus non-traditional. That would be politically correct. Is I don't know who have higher standards, but again, traditional is more about us, and non-traditional is more about I. I don't know which is wrong or right. I'm not judging here.
Well, let me just mention this. Uh, this friend of mine, David, loves to cook, and his first cousin Eric is a professional chef. He went to chef school, and now he's running a very high end kitchen, a whole kitchen with like really expensive things, out in East Texas. And I taught both my daughters how to cook, so they know how to cook. But just take the concept of cooking. Traditionally the woman cooked and then the man went off to work and then the man came home. Or if you think about caveman time, the woman would stay by the cave and like make a fire. Then the caveman would go out and like, hit an antelope on the head and then drag the antelope back and they would cook the meat and then they would like stay in the cave and make a bed out of the animal's hide and like go to sleep. And, I think still into the 1950s, that's how it sort of was. Men were going to work, women were sort of staying at home, cleaning the house and, drinking, waiting for their husband to get home. But after the 1950s, the 1960s, things started to become a little bit more non-traditional and yeah, I don't know, just things have changed.
When men say traditional woman, what they're really saying is feminine, loyal, kind, family oriented, right?
Well, I
The way
don't know.
my
To me,
grandmother was.
yes, yeah, I think, yeah, like my grandmother never drove the car. She never put gas in the car. My grandfather drove her to the beauty shop, and she would get her hair done. Uh, her brothers gave her money. My grandfather paid for the house before they moved in. Yeah, they were traditional Catholics. So, that was a traditional way of living. And then my parents traveled all over the world. So they were kind of expatriates, living all over the world, seeing how different people live and how, Greece is like this and Turkey is like this and up on the Black Sea is like this and Frankfurt, Germany is like that. So they saw a lot of different things, and then they brought us along because we were children. So we kind of sort of became like, I call it gypsies. We just grew up all over the world, and we traveled and we stayed up late at night, and we heard all kinds of music in different languages. So, did your grandmother and grandfather live in the same area, or did they travel around?
No, they lived mostly in the same area, and um,
But people
what
of
I was
your
gonna say
generation have
is
traveled.
no, no. What
You've
I
been to
was
London. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. It's okay. I was just going to say something, and then it just disappeared. The idea was there, and then it wasn't. Uh,
Well, I was saying, did your grandparents stay in the same area? They were kind of traditional. They were not
yeah,
moving around
yeah,
so much.
yeah, and she was actually raised by farmers. My grandmother, and her mom was the breadwinner. Go figure. And her father stayed in the house and took care of her while working on the fields. So they were quite a simple people. And
Mhm.
maybe, but then again, I've never heard her saying anything about gender roles or anything like that, because
Those words didn't even exist in that time. They didn't even have this
probably,
concept.
yeah, like man is a man, woman is a woman. But then again, I think it's not better or worse. We can't judge us because if the circumstances changes, the people behave differently. If women and men find themselves in the field, they'd be trying to doing their most to survive. There wouldn't be any.
They're
Uh,
in the field together, rolling around the hay.
yeah, for instance, or I don't know, living somewhere. There's no TV, no heating, no central heating, no utilities of other kind we're accustomed to. The marriage would be completely different from the marriage we have in the big cities, like large cities in New York or some
Well, that's true.
Moscow.
And if you think about your generation, you've told our listeners that you've traveled to London, you've traveled to Boston, you've lived in some different cities in, you know, the,
Even now, when I'm talking to you, keep my I keep thinking that you're telling me that in the bar we did this, we did that. They give me a drink, they offered me a drink, and I thought, well, this is a culture crash, or maybe the culture differences sometimes, because or you say some stuff that maybe it's just me, maybe I just don't go often to bars, and
well, now the thing is,
uh,
since I'm a writer during the pandemic and before, one of the things I can do is when somebody needs a different job, I can write their resume. So if somebody's a bartender, and if I usually charge $125 for one piece of paper, I'm going to write their resume, their job skills, and what they want to do for one piece of paper, $125 or $150. And I know they're a bartender, I'm not going to charge them $125. I'm going to charge them $20. And then the next time I come into the bar, they're going to give me a couple of drinks or they'll buy me a hamburger. So one of the things that
I mean, I wanted to write. I would have loved it if I could write creatively for a living, but I haven't
you
been smart enough.
can, you
No,
can
no,
write.
no.
The way to
The
start
point is,
writing is writing.
what I was gonna say that if you want to make money, you not only have to have a talent or write for a newspaper or something. You actually have to help people, and
Yes,
well,
and
ideally, I mean,
you have
because
to.
there are lots of different businesses that makes money, but if you help people, that will bring you money you want, right?
Well, the other thing is this. For example, let's say you would like to be a baker. Okay, the baker's salary is not going to be the same as a lawyer's salary. So you can't live the lawyer's life on the baker's salary. You have to live the baker's life. Or, for example, uh, the people that, somebody did a favor for me, like, Alex, he will charge me for the parts, but not for the labor on my car. So uh, that's hundreds of dollars that I'm saving. But then I've done some very nice things for him. So I call that the barter system. I do this, you do that. And that's a different way of operating in the world. So it sounds like I have this amazing life where I'm at bars all the time. But, you know, if I sell jewelry or if I sell writing and I can sell it for cash and I don't have to deal with PayPal or smart this or like all these things that, transfer money into your bank account, it's just cash in my hand. That's saving me time. And people that are working in regular jobs during the day, I can't go to their office and wait for an appointment to talk to them for 40 minutes to write a resume for them because I'm not even a paying client. So if I just run into them someplace, it's convenient for me to do the writing, or I have a box of jewelry, people buy stuff from me. It's just convenient for me. And
Yeah.
really, I'm not, I mean, it sounds like I'm always having the most amazing time. It's just that,
Right, right. That's what I was gonna mention. It's about living the right to life. So, but basically, you have a life. You carved out a life for yourself where you can do the work, whatever that means for you. That's
yes.
really what it's all about. Ask yourself what happiness looks like to you. If it's a loaf of bread, you become a baker. If it's illegal stuff, well, you become a paralegal, right?
Yeah. Or there was this gay designer friend of mine who knew of this gallery that had a lot of gay art, photographs and like very artistic. It's like a little high end gallery, and they were looking for a writer, but they were having trouble because when you put the picture on the wall, it has to have a little card next to it that says the title, the date, whatever. That little card, the identification card, somebody writes, and they always had a lot of trouble finding someone to write the cards because they were all in the gay world. But they sent me over there, so like I'm not in the gay world and I am a writer. And I just wrote the cards sitting in a room and just bid on the whole project. And they got it done like so fast. And I just walked out with cash. So it's easy for me to do. So the less hassle I have to have of dealing with, invoices and a billable hour and what were my expenses. And then, like everybody has to put how many miles on your car you drove. Like, I hate that. I don't much like to keep records. I have done that, but at
You
this
say
point in my life,
you say gay designer. I think, well, maybe he wasn't gay, but you have to assume that all male designers are gay, right?
no, he was. He was gay, and he was part of that world, and he invited me to some amazing parties, like fabulous, fabulous parties where it's called black tie, and it raises thousands and thousands of dollars for different charity events. Um, and they have art auction. And
Can
like
you be a straight fashion designer, for instance?
yeah, you can be, but what I'm just saying is that the people that go to the dinner, it's like $500 a seat just to sit at the table, but they have a preview party before that's free. And I went as David Call's guest to the preview party. So there's a lot of people that are, a lot of people have a brother that's gay, or they have a sister that's gay, or they have a cousin. So, it's not just like, a room of 100, like creepy, weird people. These are just people. And the concept, it's the art world. So,
Yeah.
we are creatures in the art world.
No, I mean, I don't mean any offense. I'm just, okay, I'm not sure of the relevancy of the question I said, and I asked you, and I think it would be slightly better received without the stereotyping. I apologize.
No, I'm not even listening. I'm just talking. This is such a great conversation.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because when you, that is the
I feel really relaxed.
great, that's the great thing about our conversation. You don't have to listen, you just talk, and there is somebody in front of you listening. Yeah.
Because you're talking to me about something I, I forgot what we were talking about.
You're like, whatever, and just get back to whatever thought you have and continue.
Yeah, yeah. So, what are you thinking about another episode? What kind of other topics do you think might be interesting? Weren't we going to write another story that
Fashion,
the
no,
dog
you
in the
mentioned
rain or
gay
something?
designers. Gay designers, I thought, well, fashion, why don't we discuss fashion? Because I am
Yeah,
being
just
straight.
fashion.
I'm all about machismo and stuff like that. Never. really about fashion, but why not, right?
No,
Why not
no, but
talk about
fashion would be
fashion?
good because that includes haircuts and cologne and watches and suits and shoes. Yeah, let's just do one on fashion.
Yeah, and by the way, I saw you've come up with two paragraphs, a new
On rock
paragraph
and
in our
roll.
story. Yeah, I'm going to continue to.
Oh, okay, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay, you
Well,
have a
it is.
good time and stay safe and do whatever it is he likes to do when no one's watching.
Oh,
If you
yes,
know what I
yes.
mean.
Well, it was Friday, but now it's past midnight, so now it's Sunday. So you're in Sunday, and I'm in Sunday, and I think many of our subscribers are in Sunday. So have a great Sunday, and no drinking and driving. Stay under the limit.